On Hunt 32 in Bush, I've got him at gunpoint K, gun 132 in insurance cod. Whilst was the closing time you have visible a cop vehicle from the 70s. They simply don't exist anymore, except in case you're watching an older TV display or film I experience, as though I don't even see Crown Vics anymore. At least in my county. It's nothing. However, Tahoes, Chargers and Explorers, some forces even have a Corvette or Hellcat. I thought it'd be thrilling to head again and recollect, and I bet pay tribute to the older police vehicle as well. Earlier than my time, I will say that not most effective do I battle with the 70s, but I'm now not all that acquainted with the system used in pursuit or cop vehicles, and I experience like most of you looking aren't either. On the end of the day, these cop cars are just beefier versions in their civilian opposite numbers. Make sure to look at Till the Quit to have all the background expertise of every automobile so that you can vote on what you assume is excellent. There can be a ballot in the network tab to vicinity your vote. With that said, what were the first-rate police cars of the music 70s higher music? Paul, earlier than I dive in, it is vital to clarify that the motors cited have been sort of right before the oil crisis, and while emissions genuinely started out to hit the automobile enterprise, I cannot evaluate downsized Novas to full-size LTDs. In addition, the cop automobiles put up 1974 were detuned like Loopy, and once more, evaluating a weaker motor from one logo to a stronger motor from every other logo isn't always that fair, so those years' variety, specifically from 1970 to 1973, no longer. Every everyday automobile can deal with being a cop vehicle, and this will practice to each car on this listing. They have been all in shape to perform their duty. Whether it was with high-velocity vehicle chases, carrying out pit maneuvers, having a big cargo capacity, or simply without a doubt being a robust, sufficient car vehicle, and from factory, those cop vehicles were modified to help perform those tasks for the most element. All the cars in this list had heavy-duty shocks, coil springs, and torsion bars, the front and rear stabilizer bars, roll bars, larger brakes, four-wheel disc brakes, stiffer frame mounts, and a whole bunch extra of just, you could say, performance-related adjustments. However, also wanted refinement for law enforcement. I don't realize who made what higher when it comes to those additions. I'm not announcing they are unimportant. However, what I think most human beings will make their vote with the aid of is what become under the hood, the transmissions that they had if their exceptional grandpa or brother used a specific squad lower back then, and clearly the looks of the car in phrases of those sirens radios, wheels, light bars and rotator beacons that turned into all as much as the producer or the county as those muscle vehicles have been phasing out. Positive spec cop cars have been accurate options for having that performance people today, and returned then could visit a nearby auction and stroll out with a retired Interceptor with those powerful engines that had been put in muscle motors. Additionally, specific forces at the time had exclusive vehicles. I could be sincere, this might have been the maximum hard video that I've made to date, just due to the fact things vary from nation to nation, and locating information on those older cop vehicles with the larger motors versus the ones that came with the most commonplace or weaker motors turned into a bit challenging. Finally, the horsepower and torque scores stated by using the manufacturers weren't usually correct many times. The vehicles produced more horsepower, but I'm going by using the manufacturing unit R scores. We begin with the AMC Matador Enforcer. These were specially utilized by the LAPD Georgia and Alabama. Apart from that, each other county favored specific vehicles. It truly is no longer to say those have been horrific. Surely the Matador name turned into quite a hit in NASCAR, and as we can analyze, they packed a punch beneath the hood, turned into AMC's largest V8 of 401, true for 330 horsepower and 435 lb-ft of torque, 0 to 60 inside 7 seconds. AMC didn't simply slap on this motor and get in touch with call a day. There had been tweaks made here and there to ensure that they would not blow up at long period. High-speed chases, additionally having the Matador at the least from 72 to 74 with the 401, became only non-compulsory for the police. I realise how all you adore your Mopars, and in these was Chrysler's Torque Flight transmission. That is thrilling, but the LAPD believed that these out-treated and outperformed all the other vehicles. A former cop additionally said that those had a long way superior brakes as compared to the Plymouths. Whether or not this is authentic or no longer, I don't know. However, I assume we will all agree that this is absolutely an underrated cop vehicle from the time each other police department notioned the alternative. And so, AMC sponsored out of the police car enterprise in '76. Talking of AMC, the Javelin changed into used, in particular by the Alabama Kingdom soldiers in 1971. The country of Alabama could not come up with the money for a complete time fleet of full-size Fords and Chevys, so they turned at AMC and received the primary pony police vehicle before everything they ordered. The guys preferred it, and so that they ordered 130 more. Essentially, it changed into a base Javelin with the 4-barrel dual-exhaust 401 made it into AMC's solid iron Borg-Warner transmission to keep on fees. ADPs opted out of the coil induction fiberglass hood and twin-grip limited slip searching at it from the outdoor. The Axe badge became replaced with 401. There have been some pictures and an antique siren that couldn't be heard over the velocity of 100 due to the sound of the engine sitting right on pinnacle. Come 1972, those received Chrysler's torque flight transmission. Same because the Matador and the Ambassador, the top velocity in those was rated at 130, but some country troopers reached 150 of path. The tyres would need to be replaced right after the more youthful men on the pressure loved them at the same time as the older men favoured the 4 doors, and they would be on the force for 4 years. Unluckily, these did not handle all too well, and they got a recognition for being smooth to wreck due to their short wheelbase and low-profile tyres. One Nation trooper said these have been, quote, nearly too responsive, apart from some decals radio and that antique siren. Those were not a whole lot specific from the general public editions. I know I stated earlier that those vehicles receive unique equipment, but those no longer a lot. The Javelin may not be in the ballot. I just determined this story interesting and desired to percentage it with you guys. By 1970, 85% of American cop vehicles have been made via Chrysler. The maximum popular cars on a police pressure might move to the Cornet or Satellite, and the Polara or Fury, the Dodge Polara Pursuit got here with A440 proper for 375 horsepower and 380 torque. In 1969, that equal YR. These Pursuit models held the top velocity document for a 4-door factory-built sedan until 1994, while it turned into overwhelmed by using the Chevy Caprice with the LT1 engine. Come 1970, the 440 engine's compression ratio dropped to comply with new emission standards, and so power output became all the way down to 370. 5 much less horsepower is now not a big deal, but come 1972, it changed is down to 285. Most forces did. Now not choose the 440, they may have had like one, or if there have been 6 engine alternatives to pick out from at the time, and opting in for the most important motor turned into costly. The most commonplace would be from the 318 or 360 to add maximum forces, chose that equal torque flight transmission. But there was the option of a 3-pace manual, watching Blues Brothers or Smokey. And the Bannet in 2024 might be difficult for some, as many of these Dodges and Plymouths have been destroyed on set, despite the fact that those had unibody creation and had more welded joints according to Foot in comparison to their civilian opposite numbers. I am never a muscle automobile professional, but I do know that those 440s are respected by means of so many to have the identical or similar motor as the Barracudas. Challengers and Roadrunners from the time in a police car is loopy. Regrettably, by means of 74, this motor turned into a shadow of what it once became in 1971. They have been, nevertheless, lots powerful. And I think that Polara is going to be the winner of this week's ballot. You already know what they are saying. Mop par or no. Car automobiles were given quite a few pickup. It's got a cop motor, a 440 cubic inch plant. It's were given cop tyres, cop suspension, cop shocks. There has been a model made before, catalytic converters, so it'll run top on everyday gas. Like I stated in advance, Chrysler turned